You're listening to Where You Live with Gene Sullivan.
Welcome back to Where You Live. I'm Gene Sullivan, broadcasting from the True North Painting Studios. This show is brought to you by American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency, and Extreme Exteriors. You can count on Extreme Exteriors for expert installation of exterior siding, roofing, soffits, fascia, decks, windows, and more. With their knowledge and experience, they can design the perfect solution to make your home beautiful and energy efficient, saving you maintenance and money for years to come. Give them a call at 763-441-1334 and tell them Gene sent you. It's time now to hear from the Community Associations Institute, brought to you by New Concepts Rental Management. Whether you're an accidental landlord or a seasoned investor, New Concepts Rental Management can advise and guide you through every aspect of the business. Give us a call at 952-922-2500.
Are you a member of the Community Associations Institute? For nearly 40 years, CAI has provided education and resources to volunteer homeowners who govern community associations and the professionals who support them. Visit caionline.org to learn more. That address again is caionline.org. CAI helps community association board members by providing online resources, in-person training, and hard copy publications written by association management experts. CAI offers community managers professional development, networking opportunities, and a certification program that's established as the industry standard nationwide. Minnesota has its own chapter of the Community Associations Institute to bring resources and tools from community associations around the country right to your home. Visit caimn.com to learn more and become a member of CAI today. Your community and management company will benefit from your involvement. Join the Community Associations Institute today at caimn.com and click on Membership.
We're talking about this story from Las Vegas, Nevada. A gentleman by the name of Lewis Washington purchased a home in a single-family detached homeowners association. He bought it from the developer and builder originally in 2002. Now, 11 plus years later, the board of directors is now giving him for the first time a letter saying, your home is not in compliance with the association because the governing documents state that every home needs to have 2 trees planted in the front yard. And you're not in compliance. He was upset, saying, hey, what's this all about? Hey, if you talked to me, maybe after I'd been here just 1 year, I would have said, okay, I didn't understand. Here you go. But now, why is it a big deal to you 11 years later? And that happens a lot of times in homeowners associations. And I ask the question, has it happened to you, listener? Have you been in an HOA where the board is asking you to do something that you haven't done, or something you have been doing for a number of years, and they're saying stop because it's not what the governing documents state? Maybe you're on the board and you're in that tough position where you've got to tell someone and give them a message like this board did to Mr. Washington. What do you do? Well, I can tell you one thing. The one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to begin using hyperbole and start ratcheting things up with an emotionality and trying to go tit for tat. And I see that happen so many times where people say, well, it's not fair, and I'll tell you why. And so in this story, if you read it further, it said that Mr. Washington said, hey, why doesn't the board spend time taking care of other trees that are dead by the entrance of the association and just, stop dealing with me? And why don't they look at their responsibility first? And I want to stop and just say, let's take a look at the situation. What's really going on here, okay? And I can tell you that if you are on a board of directors and you realize that your governing documents are saying that here's a particular rule that needs to be enforced, and it hasn't been done for many, many years, I can tell you the first thing you need to do, and that is I do not advise anybody to all of a sudden get very gung-ho on the idea of enforcement. I think you have some issues, because if you are all of a sudden saying, here's something that's important that we haven't been enforcing, and now we're going to do it, and we're going to just start doing it, by gosh, to everybody that is not in compliance, you're going to stir up a hornet's nest that you are going to find very difficult to deal with. And so you need to be careful before you begin to do that if you're on a board, okay? Number two, you have to realize that there are some people who aren't going to take a look at what you're doing if you're on that board, and all of a sudden asking someone you're starting to enforce something that you're asking of a homeowner, because other people are going to take a look at this in a different way. And some people are going to say, you know what, I think you're doing it not because the rules tell you to, but because of who I am, because of my nationality, because I'm a little bit different, because, and they're going to say discrimination, foul play. And you're going to be dealing with an issue that may not be a discrimination issue, but now becomes one. Why? Because of inconsistency. So if you're on the board and you're going to all of a sudden start enforcing something, the first thing you need to stop and ask is this an issue? And if this board at the Southern Highlands Homeowners Association, instead of sending that first letter to Mr. Washington, just stopped and said, is this really an issue? Are others being bothered? Are we hearing complaints from other people in the association? That's the first thing I would ask. And if you're not, and you see that, here's something that we haven't been enforcing and now we need to do that, perhaps before you begin enforcing that, you need to just stop. And I would suggest that if you're on a board, that you perhaps get more information from the other members in your association. How about sending out a survey, asking people what they think? How about setting up a special meeting, talking to people, asking them to give you feedback to discuss whether or not this is an issue? You may find out that nobody's complaining, nobody's being bothered by an issue, and all of a sudden you say, oh, look, here's something in our governing documents we haven't been enforcing. Let's do it. You don't have to necessarily just move forward with doing something just because they're in the documents and say they can never be touched. You can go through a process of actually getting them changed, and I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But you need to ask the question, if you're on the board, is this even an issue? What took place here in this situation? Well, I think what happened is you get a situation of a builder. Oh, of course, we know that a builder or developer is in the business of building homes and selling them. That's the bottom line to them. Many of them don't pay attention to what is really being drawn up in those governing documents. And if you're a builder, my message to you is you need to pay attention. In this particular case, the builder said, I don't understand why this is such a big issue with Mr. Washington and the association. Why is this a big issue after all these years? The developer said, hey, they say design criteria for an HOA is subject to interpretation. The HOA should just go on and just grandfather this guy in and just move forward. And so, if you're a developer, you need to be careful what you say. I recall one situation where a good friend of mine bought into a homeowners association. They were having some trouble because it was after the real estate bubble had burst. Prices were down. There were only maybe 20-30% of people actually occupying all the homes that were built, and the developer was sitting on just empty product that he couldn't move, couldn't sell. Well, prices were good. My friend moved in, and the developer all of a sudden started making some sweeping statements. Oh, yeah, whatever you want to do, you just go ahead and do it. And so my buddy ended up planting trees and changing things with landscaping, only to find out a year or two later, after it turned over from the developer to the homeowners, and the board of directors was now a representation of the other homeowners, he was now receiving letters that what he did was not right. And so to me, it's always interesting. Here you have a developer who's not paying attention. And I say to the developer, shame on you. Because what the situation is you get a homeowner who thinks that everything is fine, a developer who hasn't paid attention, perhaps the homeowner who purchased didn't bother to read the governing documents to see what can and can't be done. And now who gets dumped with all of this later? It's the association board, isn't it? And that's what happened here in this particular case. And if you're the HOA board, again, as I mentioned, the thing you really need to take a look at is you don't need to do it just because it's in the governing documents. Have that special meeting. Talk to the homeowners in the association. If it's not an issue, you have the ability and authority as members to change those governing documents so that they represent the kind of community you want represented. And that's a very freeing thing when you go through a process and instead of giving people letters and violations and fees and fines, you realize, you know what, this isn't an issue for anybody in the association, not even us. So let's get those documents changed so that now we have the kind of property we want to live in. And so think about that. But this board did a great thing. They did say, come and talk to us. And they did say, we're going to allow you to continue on with the way things are, but we're going to give you a conditional variance. Now, there's a difference between a conditional variance and grandfathering in. And I'll talk about that, but we need to take a break. So let's do that right now. When I come back, I'll share that difference. And so don't go away. A lot more with Where You Live after these messages.